Thank you very much, sir. We've had a discussion in which 40 speakers have participated on the supplementary demand for grants and also the excess grants in this House. There has been a concern expressed by many members that the supplementary demand actually is a big amount, and therefore does it raise a question that we were not well prepared or we could not assess and estimate the numbers which we need to come up when we brought the budget in the BE stage itself. So questions about how efficiently these assessments were made was repeated by several members. So it is not unusual for governments to come up with supplementary demand for grant, sometimes one, sometimes two. I think there's been an occasion where a third one has also been brought in. And when supplementary demand for grants earlier, 1 and 2 put together, were 20% of what was estimated earlier in the BE. And some other times it was 19% when in 2021, post the COVID. This time with this supplementary demand for grants, which is just the first one, only 8% of the BE is being brought in here. So it's not a very big sum in that sense. It's 8% compared to 20% which has come earlier, post the global financial crisis. So supplementary demand for grant allows government to come up with additional demands. And in this particular case, since it is post an international or global situation, what we have brought in now is as a result of what couldn't have been anticipated in January when we were preparing the budget and for the 1st February presentation. So the nominal GDP growth projection at 11.1% was done in January 2022. And post that, in fact, even as we were preparing for this, the budget, February 2022, there was overall and across the globe a clear understanding that the pandemic is waning. Measures of recovery taken by different governments, different countries are all probably impacting, and therefore there was a road to recovery, and a good road to recovery. So if we came up with 11.1%, the IMF, for instance, which came with the report in 2022, updated the World Economic Outlook and also projected that Indian economy will grow at a high rate of 9%. So the situation then, not just within India, but globally, also indicated that the pandemic was waning and there was every chance of recovery for everybody in full strength. But then came late February, the Russia-Ukraine war, and the complete disruption in supply chains, particularly for food and energy, all of which has led to countries looking at ways in which they had to give a greater push towards growth and recovery. And therefore, today, the situation is we have come up with a supplementary demand for grants, which are essentially for ensuring that there's food security. There's also enough to be given for fertilizers, which is so critical for our farmers. And therefore, the items under which we have come with the supplementary demand all are in the direction of ensuring that the Indian economy, particularly the poor, the farmers, and so on, are given enough support. So this is essentially a budget with supplementary demand which keeps the necessary support which has to be given for those who need it. And therefore, I'm sure, I've heard many people say that they don't disagree with the supplementary demand and they are fully in support of it. I'm very grateful for that support. But the apprehensions people have in their mind that this was because you couldn't estimate it earlier and rightly earlier and therefore you're coming with a correction is not well founded at all. Situations have developed in such a way post the war and post the disruptions which have been happening till recently also, we needed this additional support to be extended. So former finance minister who opened the debate actually spoke about various specific issues and raised probably 5 + 1 or 6 issues in total. But where he speaks about where are you going to raise this 3.25 lakh crores, which is what is mentioned in the supplementary demand. And he also questioned, saying, are you going to borrow, or are you going to raise revenue, or what is it? Please let us know. Sir, in September itself, Government of India has made it very clear that we are not changing our borrowing schedule, which gets announced. And in September, we announced for the second half year. We have not changed our borrowing plans, which means we are very clear that we are going to see that the revenue that we are generating is sufficient to take care of this additional. Because, for instance, sir, during the first 7 months, April to October, of the current FY, gross tax receipts have registered a growth of about 18% over the previous year, actual for that period. This is substantially higher, sir, than the budget growth of 9.6 over RE of last year. So there's enough buoyancy which gives me the confidence that we will be able to fund this supplementary that we have come up with the demands. And that is reiterated and reinforced by the fact that even in September, we have given no changes to the borrowing calendar and announced it as well. So also, the question was raised about reduction in the corporate tax. Are you giving bonanza to the large corporates? So I would want to just highlight a few facts. So in 1994, under Dr. Manmohan Singh, the corporate tax was cut to 40% from then prevailing 45%. Then in 1997, sir, the then finance minister, who honorable member is here now, Shri P. Chidambaramji, brought the corporate tax down to 35% from 40%, after also abolishing the surcharge. Then from 2000 onwards, surcharges were back, raising the total corporate tax again to about 36 to 38%, which continued for the next 5 years after that. But then it was Mr. Chidambaram again who reduced the corporate tax to 30% in 2005, although along with the surcharge, the actual rate was about 33%. Were they bonanza to corporates also? Were they bonanzas at that time? So if that is bonanza at that time, bonanza now, it is not. Because we think when you reduce the corporate tax, and especially post the 2014 situation that we've been monitoring, getting the banks to be healthier, getting the economy to come back after being in fragile 5 situation, the twin balance sheet problems where companies were laden with debt and so on. Cutting down the corporate tax was only following some of those measures, which is important for business to grow in India, manufacturing to grow in India. So I just want that to be upfront put before this August. So there was this concern that are private investments not happening? And I have he was absolutely right. The former finance minister was absolutely right in quoting me, saying, I have gone to the various fora in which I met with private investors, industry leaders, business leaders, saying they should really rev up on investments. Yes, as finance minister, when I have an opportunity to interact with them, it will certainly be something which I look forward to engaging with them and also nudging them to see if they can be even more coming forward towards investing more. So even as I do that, and I shall continue to do that, non-food bank credit, sir, has been expanding at double digits on a yearly basis since 8th April 2022 and has reached 17.9% on the week ending 2nd December 2022. So gross non-performing assets, I spoke about the twin balance sheet problem, which we took up very seriously. Prime Minister Modi gave the formula of the 4 R's through which you can recognize the problem of NPS in the bank and also reform the banks, recapitalize them, and so on. So as a result of which, the twin balance sheet problem has been addressed. Gross non-performing assets have come down to a 6-year low of 5.9% in March 2022. The corporate sector has been, and this is matter of fact, sir, the corporate sector has been deleveraging its balance sheet, as evident in the declining core debt of the private non-financial sector, which has decreased to 87.8% of the GDP in June 2022, from where 97.4% that it was in March 2016. And this is a data given by the Bank for International Settlements. So, and together with this approaching to clean up the twin balance sheet problem, government has also taken up several steps such as the national monetization of pipeline, the Gati Shakti, the PLI scheme, all of which are bringing back investors so that manufacturing sector can really gain some prominence. Honorable former finance minister also raised this question about doubling of the real GDP. He observed that from 1990-91, it took 12 years to double the GDP, that is 25 lakh crores to 50 lakh crores. And then it took only another 10 years to double to from 50 to 99 lakh crores. So pointing out that since this government is in the 9th year, will we double the GDP, going by the trend that every 10 years you see them doubling? So Indian economy certainly witnessed an average growth of 6.6 from 2014-15 to 19-20. But these 10 years will have to also be looked at, particularly the last 5 years will have to be looked at from the point of view of COVID as well, where 1 full year we had to get into negative terrain as a result of the way in which globally all economies were thrown hither thither, and the lockdown and so on. So despite that, I can only say that we are somewhere very close to doubling it. We still have 1.5 years to go for completing the 10 years, but that is something which I want to draw your attention to. So equally, it was pointed out by the Honorable former Finance Minister that major world economies are facing recession, and India's exports and growth will fall in the coming quarters. Is the government seized of the fact? Is a question which the Honorable Member raised. I would like to just highlight that global economies, many of them, large developed economies as well, are facing recession. Because I think the way in which they handled the COVID, as different from the way in which we have handled COVID in India. Because the tendency was we should give money in the hands of the people, go printing notes. And here, I would like to quote former finance minister saying, borrow and spend, and even print money to reboot the economy, was a suggestion given by the Honorable former finance minister. As we close the calendar, sir, calendar year 2022, we should look at the negative effect of the implementation of such a suggestion by the other countries. And recession is happening there, perhaps. And thankfully, because of the targeted way in which Honorable Prime Minister decided to give relief during COVID and address the concerns as was given as inputs from the various stakeholders, a targeted approach has kept us on the safe course of helping revival but not getting into recession. So this is something which I want to highlight here. In fact, the latest World Bank report, sir, which had given an accurate analysis, it was a snapshot of a picture, which I did go into details when I addressed in the Lok Sabha. When the world was dealing with taper tantrum, the situation then has been compared with the situation now, and the latest World Bank report has given a clear, pointed analysis where it says macro fiscal fundamentals are better than they were during the taper tantrum episode in 2013, speaking about India, when India was classified under a fragile 5. So, if macroeconomic fundamentals are better now, post the COVID, and this is not my observation, this is coming from World Bank, and I'm not comparing it with how things were handled during the taper tantrum 2013, it is World Bank saying that we have in India kept our fiscal fundamentals better now than how it was kept at that time. And multiple times, both the IMF and the World Bank have said in several occasions, India is the brightest spot in the global economy and is an island of hope for global growth. So I just want to highlight the fact that real GDP growth and doubling of it is certainly a good indicator for which any government should work. But the way in which we have handled during COVID has kept us away from recession, whereas those who followed certain common principles, which was heard as advice given here also, have gone into recession. So then, 4 engines of growth. Government expenditure, I'm grateful it was observed not just by former finance minister but by many other members as well, that government's public expenditure is going on and good numbers have been allocated in the budget and so on. So I just want to highlight on private investment on which many members voiced concern saying, is it happening, is it not? And specifically, former finance minister also raised concern about it. I want to highlight how private investment is happening. I mentioned about it a minute ago, but there are specific pointers that I want to highlight here. In April 2022, sir, the credit rating agency of India, ICRA, the ICRA, said that some of the key industries showing healthy capex include energy, which is power generation, predominantly renewable and storage, transmission, oil, gas, and also green hydrogen. Then digitalization, including data centers, core industries, including cement and metals, automotive, mobility, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, textiles, all of them are seeing healthy capex happening. This is April 2022 by ICRA. Then second, sir, on 2nd June 2022, I'm taking the name of a particular largest cement maker, not taking the name, but I'm mentioning it, has approved a new capital expenditure, big number, 12,886 crore. And that is purely to increase the capacity of cement production in this country. Third, sir, Private sector capex announcements are up 35% year on year and 53% above pre-COVID levels. This is a report from one of the equity research companies. Financial year 23, India private sector capex is seen to be driven by chemicals and renewable energy. This is an observation by one of the institutes which looks at equities research. And finally, on 14th December 2022, the Mahindra Group has announced 10,000 crore of investments in EVs in Maharashtra. So, private sector capex is happening, and it is something which is got to be noticed because of the favorable policy. The PLI, for instance, is a policy which we are seeing absolute robust response from the industry. 14 sectors have been given PLI, and that is drawing a lot of investments to come into the country. And even the capital expenditure, which I announced in the budget, had a state component, which is giving the states a 50-year loan, which will ensure the geographical spread of capital expenditure. And given that the current bond market and the yields are going up, that is an expenditure which the government of India is bearing, the interest. But we've given it to the states so that that can happen in all the states across. And that will also help us have, that will bring in the virtuous cycle, because the government would spend on investment, infrastructure building. So private final consumption expenditure stood at 58.4% in quarter two, in 22-23, the highest among second quarters of all years since 2013-14. And similarly, exports have been buoyant and at 23.3% of GDP in quarter two of 22-23, which is again highest among second quarters of all years since 2015-16. So contact-intensive services, that sector has completely recovered the pre-pandemic gross value addition levels in quarter two itself, and now they're going further. So largely the concerns which the former finance minister has expressed are concerns on which I'm happy to respond, that actually positive growth is happening. And I would like to assure the House that we are keeping a good eye on inflation-like considerations, which are purely extraneous nowadays because of the fuel, fertilizer prices. So Member Derek O'Brien, who also spoke, is not here. He did explain, saying he's not going to be around here. He's going because of a pre-scheduled event. However, on some points, I would certainly like to respond to him, although he's not here, sir. There was a concern expressed that the states were spending 46% more than the union government in 2014, and now 150% more than the union government. So I'm not sure where he's obtained that number, but the states, and also he linked it to states borrowing, limits. So the 15th Finance Commission has recommended that we should, in 22-23, allow states to borrow 3.5% untied, and tied can be 0.5%, 0.5%, exactly what we have done. And for 23-24, the Finance Commission again said till the end of the finance cycle, the Finance Commission cycle, it should be 3% of the GDP untied and 0.5% tied, linked to power sector reforms. Exactly the same is being followed by us. So I just want to also inform Member Derek that the share of the central taxes used to be given out on the 20th of every month. In fact, just to help the states to have the money earlier, we have advanced it to 10th of every month. Now, 10 days earlier, states receive the central share of the central taxes. So 10 days in advance. And again, we've also given 2 advance installments, released it so that states get the money in their hand well before the expected times. Even GST compensations have been sent well in advance, sir. And there's always this question of this much is owed to so-and-so state. I've made it as a point to answer during question hour as well, that if the utilization certificates reach us, we clear it immediately. And if the utilization certificates have not been given, the due is lying with you rather than with the Government of India, whichever state. I'm not pointing a finger at any one particular state, but it is the utilization certificate which really is the important point. And also this question about cess collection, cess and these surcharges. I just want to highlight, cess collection takes time. But in the meanwhile, because the focus on which the particular item on which we've collected the cess, whether it is road and infrastructure, whether it is education, health, whatever, because those schemes will have to be funded, even if the collection is less, we have drawn from our own resources and sent the money in time. Just for the year 21-22, I'd like to highlight road and infrastructure cess, sir. 1,95,987 is the amount to be collected, which was collected for the year 21-22. But much before itself, 2,51,738 crores have been given, amount utilized by the states. So collected cess is not with me. I'm not sitting and earning interest, nor do I have an area where I'm privately spending it. It is all going to the states. Similarly, GST compensation cess, 1,04,623 is all that was collected 21-22. But we've already given to the states, amount utilized is 1,10,795. Again there, what was collected, what's being given is much more than what has been collected. Third, sir, health and education cess, amount collected 2021-22, 52,732 crores. What was utilized for the states? 78,287. That's a health and education cess component which has gone to the states. National calamity contingent duty, 6,138 crores were collected, whereas 6,135 crores have already been given, just 3 crores short, but it's already been given to the states. So I just want to highlight the fact, sir, that members please do look at data. When claims such as, oh, cess is being collected, you're not giving it, we cannot do anything with it unless it is given to the states to create that infrastructure. So this was a point which was raised by several members. And in that, I just want to highlight that if this is the case with 21-22, the year immediately after the COVID, Center is more keen to have projects completed. We send it to the states as and when we have the states coming up with the proposals. So we don't sit with that, and just underlining the fact. So on the unemployment again, several members spoke. I want to highlight the fact that when capital expenditure is undertaken by the government, particularly looking at infrastructure strength, PLI is being offered. When startups are created and given funds through the fund of funds, which is lying with the SIDBI, and also through many venture capitalists who come to fund them, for whom we have facilitated through various many ease of doing business, jobs are being created there. And the government's Rozgar Mela, where the PM has launched the scheme and 10 lakh jobs are being given. The process is ongoing. Jobs are being created. In September 2022, sir, the net payroll addition, which is looking at the EPFO records, is 46% higher. Additional 46% entries have been made year-on-year growth. And therefore, it is also bringing in an element of formalization. Informal, those who are in the informal sector with jobs are now coming into EPFO. That's also getting added. Now, the same, the employment figures periodic labor force survey report has highlighted that the unemployment rate in July to September 2020 quarter in urban areas stood at 7.2 compared to 8.3 in July-September quarter of 2019. So unemployment figures are gradually, of course, it is got to be monitored almost every day, but it is gradually coming down. So there was a lot of concern expressed about left-wing extremism. In order to address the issue of left-wing extremism, Government of India approved a national policy and action plan to address the LWE in 2015. Because the policy has been steadfastly implemented, there's a consistent and steady decline in violence in the LWE affected areas. I want to highlight, sir, in 2010, 465 police stations where really the violence was active in those areas, 465 police stations, and spread in 96 districts. Whereas in 2021, 191 police stations alone are affected in 46 districts. So there's a drastic reduction, sir. And also this security-related expenditure, which in July 2010 was somewhere at 126 districts, number of districts where security-related expenditure was being undertaken. 126 has now come down in July 2021 to 70 only. So there is a reduction. There's more data which I would like to share with the honorable members, and that will show that the government's policy has actually paid off dividends. And so the incidence of violence, I am comparing the period 2006 to 14 with 2014 to 2022. Incidence of violence in 6 to 14 was 13,315 in the left-wing affected areas, whereas in 14 to 22, it is only 6,552, a 50% off. Left-wing extremism-related deaths in 6 to 14 was 5,289, whereas in 14-22, it is only 1,744. Not even one death is acceptable, but still reduction in number has to be noticed. So death of security forces, which is equally heart-wrenching, 1,583 in 6 to 14, whereas 458 only in 14 to 22. Surrender by left-wing extremists in that period of 6 to 14, 2,428 people surrendered, whereas now 5,816 people have surrendered, leading to 140% increase in surrenders. And violence reporting districts, which I mentioned earlier, 96 in 2010, 46 in 2021. Violence reporting police stations, 330 in 2013, whereas 192 in 2021. So left-wing area-related issues, which very many people have raised, I wanted to give the data before them, sir. So Honorable Member Kanimuri had raised questions about MSMEs they're not getting funds adequately and so on. And if there are NPAs among them, I just want to highlight the National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company Limited has given the data. The percentage of non-performing assets under credit borrowed under the ECLGS is thus. I will let you know. The total amount which was guaranteed is 3,58,894, whereas the NPAs outstanding in crores is only 13,964. NPA as a percentage of total loans guaranteed is only 3.89%. So MSME sector has been given support, and that support has actually helped them to stay out of difficulty, and we are still attending to them. And Member Kanimuri, who I can't see here, be assured that we are addressing the issue. So also this question of doubling farmers' income, which many honourable members voiced concern. Is it being doubled? Will it be doubled? I just want to ensure, sir, that all honourable members just recognize the number of schemes through which we are dealing with farmers. Unprecedented enhancement in budget, sir. Actually, in 2015-16, the budget for agriculture and farmer welfare was only 25,460 crores. Now it is 1,38,550 crores in 2022-23. Income support, which is being given through PM Kisan, has seen 2 lakh crores being deposited in the accounts of the farmers. 11.3 crore farmers have received these monies. Institutional credit is also being extended, not just to farmers, but also to people who are in animal husbandry and fisheries, and also for piggery and goat keeping people. Then fixing of minimum support price at 1.5 times the cost of production is also in favor of the farmers. Per drop more crop has seen so far an area of 69.55 lakh hectares being covered under micro irrigation through the PDMC scheme from 2015 and 16. Similarly, sir, micro irrigation fund with initial corpus of 5,000 crores has been created in NABARD. In the budget announcement of 21-22, the corpus of the fund has been increased to 10,000 crores from where it was 5,000 crores. Sir, promotion of farmer producer organizations, several of them. FPOs, we said 10,000 of them will be launched. 29th February 2020, the Honorable Prime Minister came up, launched that budget, outlay of 6,865 crores, which will last till 27-28. So, providing soil health card, improvement of farm produce logistics, introduction of Kisan Rail are all taking care of the farmers, and that will naturally lead to bettering their income. So, Member Raghav Chadda is not here. I just want to highlight that he said underestimated BE numbers and mismanagement of budgetary allocation. I thought I've addressed this, but I just want to highlight the fact again that after the global financial crisis, 2008-9, 20% of the original budget came as supplementary demand for grants, 20% in 2008-2009. And after the COVID crisis in 2020-21, we have come up with a supplementary demand for grants for 19%, whereas what we have come out now is only 8% of the fiscal. He also, Honourable Member Raghav Chadha also said that, debt and total debt, outstanding debt for the central government. So central government debt, or the total liability of the central government, has actually been coming down since 2013-14 till we were hit by COVID. I just very quickly run down the numbers, sir. 2013-14, as a percentage of GDP, it was 51%. 14-15 saw it come down to 50.1, 50.2 the next year, 48.7 next year, 48.5 the next year, 49.0 the next year, which is 2018-19. But post-COVID, sir, it went up to 52.4, which was drastically brought down, 52.4, 61.6, but which was brought down to 58.7. It is coming down even as we speak. So we have been careful about the borrowing and also the liability of the central government. Sir, Member Raghav Chadda has also been saying things about inflation, and in a very colloquial and also very populist way, he said, what is Aadhaar card? You should actually be giving Udhar cards. And he also said, inflation, the wholesale inflation, WPI inflation is high and it is in double digit. Sir, he's a qualified accountant. Honorable member is a qualified accountant. I'm not one. So with my limitation, but I still want to present before him that he should kindly look into the numbers before he speaks. He's not here, unfortunately. Sir, at one point in time, during his Gujarat visits, the honorable member had mentioned that every person in Gujarat has a debt of 58,000 crores per capita, that is, every person. And the Gujarat government spends 38,000 crores on every person annually. Sir, unbelievable. I would like to request the honorable member to revisit his numbers. Similarly, he said WPI inflation is high and in double digit in India. If only he notices the press or the media reports, WPI inflation has come down to 21-month low of 5.85%, sir. Where is it in double digits? Wholesale food inflation is at 2.17%, sir. So, qualified accountants. So similarly, Udhar card, when you hear it as opposed to Aadhaar card, it's very appealing. But we should not mock the small borrowers who are going to the bank under Mudra loan, KCC, crop loans being taken, MSMEs are coming under ECLGS, and also Mudra, and also other small loans which many of the small business retail loans that they take. Is Aadhaar card helping them in the bank and then going and taking because their KYC gets established? We cannot afford to even for a moment mock at people who need that small assistance. And the government is making it far more transparent by giving them the Aadhaar card. The KYC is better enabled. So I appeal to the member to please look at the data that is laid on the table of the House here through his speech. So also, the interesting debate which is going on now, your freebie versus my freebie. So honestly, it is important to recognize that when you're transparent in your methods and you put it on account for everybody to see, there is no debate over it. So there's no debate over it.
One second. The Honorable Finance Minister made some reflections. You will do well to go through them after the House proceedings are over. Try to digest as a certified chartered accountant and see me in the chamber thereafter. Sir, Honorable Minister.
Sir, you may not kindly consider that
sir, this is
Mr. Raghav Chadda alone
one
represents chartered accountants.
No, 1 second.
Many of us are embarrassed by his accountants.
Sir, this is between two chartered accountants. Neither the Honorable Minister is a chartered accountant nor am I. Honorable Minister.
So thank you, sir. Sir.
Later.
So all we want is transparency and compliance with the statutory fiscal rules. So it's important that we pay government salaries. I'm now talking about some media reports. I'm not drawing any particular paper or anything like that. In the last couple of months, sir, they have been highlighted. They have continuously been highlighted. The papers are highlighting that one state government is unable to timely pay salaries of its government employees. And employees are protesting. I have not named any state. But you see such reports in the media. It's perhaps because funds are being used in giving numerous different advertisements all over the country, and the state government therefore remains incapable of giving salaries. Now subsidies or freebies are therefore to be contextualized, and if you're able to put it in your budget and make a provision for it, and when your revenues come you give the monies, why would anyone have an objection? Education, health, and also many subsidies given to farmers are all fully justified. Nobody's got a problem with it. So I just want to highlight that many of these things will have to be contextualized rather than us quickly, trying to gain one or the other brownie point. Sir, there were discussions on malnutrition. Honorable Member Ami Yagnik, with whom I've had from before the time when BJP came to power, a lot of interaction in television debates. I respect her for the dedication with which she does her business. I just want to highlight so on malnutrition and also people coming down below the poverty line, the UNDP MPI 2022 report notes that nationally, the relative reduction from 2015-16 to 2019-21 has been faster. 11.9% a year compared to 8.1% from 2005-6 to 2015-16. So in that period, the reduction was 8.1. Now, in 15-16 to 19-21, the reduction is 11.9%, sir. And this is UNDP saying it. The policies have shaped the Antyodaya principle, shaped around the Antyodaya principle, and as a result, countless flagship schemes, and also the food security, for which the supplementary demand comes up with a demand for funding the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, are very clearly indicative that food is reaching the common people, particularly in difficult times like COVID. So I just want to highlight that point which Honorable Member Yagnik raised. And also, food subsidy in 2013-14 was 92,000 crores only. Whereas in BE 22-23, sir, we have provided for 2,06,831.09 crores. So we are taking the nutrition and food security of people very seriously, and that is why. And after the supplementary, this supplementary demand, the allocation would go up to more than 2.8 lakh crores for the year 2022-23. So we didn't allocate it at the beginning, but we have not hesitated to add now, just to ensure that food security is being kept in mind. Sir, Honorable Member Manoj Jha, you obviously referred yesterday saying the two of you all are from the same university, so there should be some camaraderie. I just want to highlight, sir, it was very interesting to hear Honorable Member speak about double-engine Sarkar, and that it's not constitutionally envisaged, and you are trying to make sure by doing this, for those states which are not double-engine, it is becoming trouble engine. He said that. So I just want to highlight how trouble engines work? Sir, when the central government was with the UPA and the party to which Honorable Manoj Jha belongs to, between 2004 and 14, the deliberate way in which many states were put to difficulty are so many that your words of troublemaking or trouble engine, not double engine, are so true. Trouble engines were then and not now. Trouble engine, Sardar Sarovar Dam, sir. The plan was made in 1979. The construction began in 87. And the Honorable Chief Minister, now the Honorable Prime Minister, was begging with the central government, saying, let this get completed because the state is a semi-arid state. The Gujarat water table was going down, and measures taken by Honorable Chief Minister then was trying to help farmers. But Sardar Sarovar, every trick in the bag was used to delay the project. And I'm now quoting from Honorable PM's speech in 2013 and again in 2017. The UPA government was the troublemaker for Sardar Sarovar Dam. And it did not give the necessary clearances and used every trick in the book to delay the project, just for settling political scores. Gates of Sardar Sarovar Dam was not allowed to be installed despite repeated requests. That's trouble engine, you know. Manoj Jha ji. Again, sir, UPA government did not approve the Taranga Ambaji Abu railway road, Taranga Ambaji Abu road railways line. And that's been waiting for a long time. Why shouldn't people vote for double engines, sir? If this is the kind of trouble engines create, and that trouble engine is not here. It was there. You were a partner to it. Similarly, sir, Gujarat government's gas pipeline and gas distribution projects. The network was laid at the state's own expenditure, but it cannot be completed, nor was gas connection or gas to be received from the port to be given through the network. And that was also a tweet and a blog which Honorable Prime Minister now and the Chief Minister then had written in 2013. So these are instances, and much more than that, sir. Honorable Member John Brittas also speaks about center-state relationship. He belongs to a party which became a victim of the trouble engine, even in 1959. The misuse of 356, the misuse of Article, even now, I'm glad to hear, but you are very cohabiting comfortable with them. Sir, Article 356. You are against? Oh, really? Oh. Because I see quite a lot of friendly matches happening between the two. Sir, Article 356, the misuse of it began in 1959 when EMS Namboodiripad government was thrown out, saying, law and order, you get out. Sir, August 1984, Governor Ramlal dismissed N.T. Ramarau's government in TDP government in Andhra Pradesh. And similarly, sir, many such. In 16 years of her power, Srimati Indira Gandhi misused Article 356 50 times. 50 times, 50 times. Yes, MGR government, also the DMK government. Post-emergency, DMK government also was dismissed. So, misuse of Article 356, central state federalism relationship, both RJD and CPM should now stand up and say, was it better? Trouble making, trouble engine. Where is the trouble engine? So let's be sure that double engine works. Trouble engine is the one which did all this for us.
Please.
Sir, also, Honorable Member Manoj Jha said, like many others who said, sir, that the government is working only for the corporates and not for the Aam Aadmi. I just want to highlight and thank Honorable Member Ajay Pratap Singh. I can't say, he's here. He started listing out, saying, is this for the corporates? Is this for the corporates? He was right. Our government, sir, works on the development of all and appeasement for none principle. Our principle is that development for all. Sabka saath, sabka vikas. There is no appeasement. And therefore, when you have Jandan Yojana, is it going for the corporates? Jam Trinity went for the corporates. PM Ayushman Bharat, does it go for the corporates? Ujjwala, does it go for the corporates? Ujala, does it go for the corporates? Krishi Sinchai Yojana, Fasal Bima Yojana, do they go for? And this subsidy, this supplementary demand for grants asking money for fertilizer, does the fertilizer go for the corporates? So, it's very easy, sir, to चमत्कार से ये सब बात बोलना आसान है, मगर housing for all, 80 crore people get free food grains. Is that going to your corporate friends? To whom both the Congress party and later the communists as well don't want to take any action. One port was given on a platter to one of the big A's, which gets quoted to us very often. They invited them saying, come, develop this port. Okay, that was Congress. Afterwards, the communists came. They didn't take it back. You want those corporates when you want that port to be developed, both Congress and communists. Friendly match, John Brittas.
Please take your seat. No, sir. No, wait, I know how to, please, go ahead.
Sir, so when we do it, it's wrong. I'm glad to hear John Brittas say that, sir.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir. I'm very glad. Is there anything wrong with that? Yes. So when you have projects which are through an open, transparent tender process going to a particular corporate, we doing it will become, oh, you're giving it only to Ambanis and Adanis, whereas they invited on a platter, come and develop my Virinjam port.
Honorable Minister.
Rajasthan.
And in Rajasthan, sir, Honorable Chair, Rajasthan has given lands to one of the big corporates. Was that? And there are other states also like that. So corporates is only a pet, bait which they like to throw. But when they do it, it's all chup chop. At that time, the friendly match between Congress and communists will go on. Yes, it will go on. Sir, also,
Please.
also, sir, so, sir, inflation is a daylight robbery.
One second.
Huh? Sir, every state is with some inflation number or the other. Nowadays, you get it even for states, sir. So I just want to know, is daylight robbery also happening in Kerala, where CPI latest is 5.9%? Inflation is daylight robbery. Is it happening there also?
It's the lowest in Kerala. It's not by
Mr. John Brittas.
So it's not lowest.
Please.
National average is lowest.
Please.
National average is lowest, sir. It's not low in your state. 8. So, sir, also, Sir, Honorable Member Dola Sen spoke about BSNL. She's not here. If I should expand, there are other members of our party here. BSNL has not been taken care of. I just want to give 2 numbers and leave it, although I wanted to expand, but I wouldn't in the time being what it is. Sir, Cabinet approval for revival of BSNL in 2019 gave 54,021 crores, and that's for pensionary benefit, which is spread over 10 years, ex gratia, capital infusion for 4G, grant for GST for 4G spectrum, that 4G which the UPA hadn't given. So, BSNL and MTNL, 54,021 crores in 2019. 2022, sir, 1,23,757 crores is what the cabinet's approval is for BSNL. And what is it for? AGR dues of BSNL amounting to 33,000 crores and odd, reissue of 9% non-cumulative preference shares, allotment of 900 and 1,800 megahertz spectrum, which later on can also be helpful for 5G, then restructuring and operational integration, capex requirement, and compensation to BSNL for unviable rural wireline services. So BSNL is being taken care of, not just in 1 year, not just for one head, but overall revival of BSNL. Sir, I've also heard, sir, a lot of people saying, oh, you can't harass, the point which both Manoj Jha and John Rittas made, later on member Priyanka Chaturvedi also made. 28, that you're using ED to oppress opposition parties, and you're not able to. No, sir. Law enforcement agencies, it's a different thing that if your party is not able to hold your own flock together, it's a different story. Don't blame the ED or anybody else. But ED, sir, I'm showing this deliberately, sir. If this is the kind of evidence you see, which is reported in the media, what are we talking about? Cash found in a minister's house. I'll verify it and leave it on the table, sir.
Please put it on.
I will authenticate it and leave it on the table. Yes,
Please
I'm conscious of what the rules that the chairman says. I will authenticate it and leave it on the table.
Honorable Minister.
But with this kind of evidence.
Honorable Minister, please authenticate the document and leave it on the table.
Absolutely, I will do that.
And I have issued one second, Mr. Vikas, and I have already given directions to some members to do similarly. I hope they do it. Please, go ahead.
Sir, and also this question of 1 minute, sir. I will just. Sir, states are most often left without enough money. I'm coming to the end, sir, with this. Without much support, they are suffering, they don't have enough. I just want to highlight a few features which I cursorily did earlier, sir. To help states, sir, Centre took a loan of 1.1 lakh crore in 2020-21 and 1.5 lakh crores 1.59 lakh crores and released it back to back to the states to meet the gap created due to less connection of GST compensation. During 22-23, in May, central government also released 86,912 crore as provisional GST compensation for states for the period February-May 2022, despite the fact that there was only about 25,000 crore in GST compensation fund from where, and only from where I'm authorized to send the compensation, by making arrangements of funds of around 62,000 crore from its own resources. Again in November, sir, Centre released an amount of 17,000 crore towards the balanced GST compensation for the period April to June 2022. So the total amount of compensation released to the states and UTs so far, including the above mentioned items, is 1,15,662 crores. An amount of 14,000 crore during the current year will go towards debt obligation for the loans raised. So I just want to leave it absolutely plain on the table of the House, sir. So with these words, I think I largely have addressed the concerns of most of the members, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಧ್ವನಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬೆಲ್ ಐಕಾನ್ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.